And welcome to The Bond, where we connect with nature. Today we're going to be talking with Wendy Bailey of Noah's Ark Dog Training. Now, why would we want to train our dogs to go to the next level? Meaning, instead of just regular obedience training, maybe we want to have them trained to be a therapy dog. Maybe we want to see different types of institutions that we bring them to. Well, Wendy's Noah's Ark Dog Training actually has a mission statement, which is to improve the bond between owner and dog through training methods and effective communication. Now, to me, that means that she is able to figure out how to communicate with the dog and make it fun for them to learn new tricks to help the dog learn how to comfort people. So it's a real symbiotic relationship. Now, Wendy has a variety of different certifications. She's gone to an international school of dog trainers, and she's also done independent dog therapy training, Bright and Beautiful Therapy Dogs, as well as AKC Good Citizen evaluations for dogs. A lot more as well, but instead of going through her resume, why don't we talk to her directly and find out some tips and tricks that she might be able to give you at home to train your dog. So Wendy, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
We really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us, because one of the things that's important is understanding how we can connect with our beautiful creatures like these. So can you tell me how you got into it and why you picked Spaniels as your dog of choice for you personally?
Well, I've always loved animals as a child, and I did have a couple dogs, but when my dad worked at Disneyland, and so we did all things Disney. So here, Disney, I'm advertising. But my favorite movie was Lady and the Tramp, and the lady's the Cocker Spaniel. So I had a cockapoo growing up. That's part Cocker. And when I finally, was an adult, I got my first Cocker Spaniel. And of course, what did I name her? Lady.
Oh.
And so that kind of got me into having the Cocker Spaniels. But when I was married and I had two more Cocker Spaniels, and I did the trainings at PetSmart and all that. So give PetSmart a good feedback. But then somebody at my church, she wanted to have a group, and she wanted to train dogs to be therapy dogs, and then go visit people, and just also to share, about the, gospel and all that. And so my dogs were already trained basically. So the therapy dog training is a little bit more. And I thought, well, I have a dog already. And then I joined, and then I got him certified. And so that was how I first heard about it, because I never knew about therapy dog work. So, and that was it's volunteer, but
I think that's so interesting, because a ubiquitous cartoon that influences people globally actually put an imprint on you to fall in love with a certain breed of dog, even though your first image of it was a cartoon character up on a screen. And you own the dog, and then somebody at your church actually introduced you to this new occupation for your dogs. And now you've taken it one step further by actually having a training center where you can teach other people how to turn their dogs into therapy dogs. And so I think that's a beautiful circle of not a circle of life, because that makes it sound like I'm quoting another cartoon.
Lion King.
That's a different cartoon. But can you tell me a little bit about your philosophy with training, and what you find is the best training methods to teach dogs how to be therapy dogs?
Sure. And by the way, this is Roxy. But Roxy, she's 10. She's a Cocker Spaniel, and she's a rescue. So, everyone loves to rescue rehome dogs. She's my first rescue. And then Putter is a Cocker Spaniel. He's 7. And he's came from, a breeder. So, and my philosophy is that there's different types of dog trainings, because some people, know Caesar, Milan, which, there's different types. And I am into positive reinforcement. So that's where you're using treats, and you can use toys, or, petting. They work for food. They don't care when I pet them. But so you can use treats or, positive reinforcement for getting them to do their, sit, stay, and you reward them positively, and instead of, other methods where, it would be
It's a little more
different.
sharp.
Yeah, sometimes it's sharp. But
So do you think the tone of voice it has any effect? I mean, like if I said sit versus sit,
Right.
something like that.
Right. So your commands are just kind of firm, sit, and you don't want to, yell, and, you just use your regular commanding voice. And some people say, oh, men, are better. My dog listens to the, husband, but, not necessarily. It's a commanding voice. And then when the punishment, instead of giving them a bit pop, right, they didn't do it, is basically, okay, you don't get the reward, that's your punishment. You don't get a reward, or if you get out of your sit, we put you back in, and that's your punishment, and you don't get the treat.
So that's interesting. That means that even a 4'7" petite lady can have a big, huge Great Dane and be able to still be the commanding.
Right. 4'11". I'm 4'11".
Okay,
Well, maybe not a Great Dane, but
along those lines. So it's more of your attitude and your demeanor as opposed to your physical size. Right.
But I don't get many people that ask me to private train their German Shepherds or Great Danes, but because they look at me and they go, well, the neighbor asked my husband to walk their dog because they think, oh, she's too little. But, yes, I can, because
they don't
I know,
realize the power you have inside you.
I got treats, and that's it.
So what do you think are some of the common mistakes that people make when they do training? And why should they come to see you?
So the mistakes that they make would be that they don't have, the right treats. They think those, hard
dry kibble is good enough.
Well, yeah, or maybe they have a few dogs and then a couple dogs, and they start training them, and they say, my dogs don't listen. Maybe there's too many distractions, or a new dog too, a rescue, might be too over, or if they're over the threshold, or in the like they're too stressed out, and they just, like, when you are so stressed you can't think. Sometimes they can't learn because they're too stressed. So
how do you tell when a dog is stressed? Because they don't have the same mechanisms of communication that humans have, right?
Well, they have body language, so you do, like, they yawn, or they scratch, or you can look at their body and see if they're relaxed, or how they're.
Are your dogs now relaxed, or are they stressed?
Yeah, they
Let's
They
evaluate.
look pretty relaxed. She kind of actually, I don't know, had the little sneezing fit, and that could have been stress. Sometimes she does have those, but she'll drool too. So
what's the best reaction if a dog starts either scratching or habitual coughing or dry heaving or scratching or having a twitch?
Yeah, or the yawning,
chasing their own tail.
If they go behind me, then. But basically, if you're training your dog and they are starting to do that, you've got to kind of take a break and maybe they need to go take a break, go potty, or maybe
just sort of change up the action a little bit. Okay, so what do you think about types of people wanting to use like natural remedies that they make with their kitchen supplies in order to treat different types of dogs? So for example, I've heard that apple cider vinegar can be sprayed on them to get rid of fleas or to address ear infections, and then rub coconut oil on an ear with, something along those lines. Is that useful, or do you think it's just better for them to bring their dog directly to the vet?
Well, of course you want to bring your dog to the vet, but for ear cleaning, they use peroxide and, some mixes, and in the vinegar, it could work for certain things, like fleas, and then like calming, natural solutions like lavender. I mean, that would work to keep your dog calm. Some people give their dog CBD oil, but I mean, I really don't know about that.
So let's stick with lavender.
Right. So yeah, but those kind of things could work, but I mean, of course, it's probably not going to take care of the problem, if your dog has an issue. I mean, when you got the dog, you signed up to care for him, so
right.
Take him to the vet. Don't be cheap, because I mean, I have 3 dogs, so I take mine.
So I noticed that on your website for Noah's Ark dog training. You have an article on there about the proper way to trim nails at home. And there's certain types of techniques, especially if a dog has darker nails versus more transparent nails. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, because I do puppy training classes, and then we kind of talk about that. So when you do trim your dog's nails, and you have to trim them, you can't just let them go because they grow. Mm-hmm. And the quick is the live part inside. That grows also.
So it has their nerve endings in it.
So if you have a really long nail and then you didn't ever trim their nails for a year, mm-hmm. and then you go back to trim them, your dog is going to bleed.
Oh gosh, so you want to avoid that.
So you have to trim a little bit at a time, and then if it's okay though if you didn't ever trim them, you could train the quick. You're going to have to trim a little bit at a time, and mm-hmm. and basically the quick will shrink.
So we will be right back after this short break, and we'll continue with Wendy Bailey of Noah's Ark Dog Training. Stay with us. And we are back. We're going to be continuing to talk with Wendy Bailey from Noah's Ark Dog Training. And one of the questions that I have been wanting to know is how on earth does she discern a dog personality? So let's get to it. Wendy, how do you tell a dog's personality? And then how do you know that they have the right temperament for a therapy dog?
Good question. Some people will ask me if I do temperament testing, which mm-hmm. is mostly the AKC people will do it in a dog show, and that's where they test your dog to see how they respond to many things. But what I do is I'll meet the dog, and if the dog is, of course, wanting to interact with me, then mm-hmm. that's a really good sign.
Sociable.
And if he's not growling or going behind the owner, then that's, pretty good.
So can a dog be introverted or extroverted, like people?
Oh yeah, they are. And actually, this dog, Putter, he's pretty mm-hmm. introverted, and he's very shy, and she's kind of, she's not really shy, but Roxy's kind of a little bit, special.
Do you think because Roxy was a rescue that maybe she developed a little bit more bold of a personality?
No, I just think she's the breed. She's a little hyper.
Oh, okay.
That's what I guess I would say. But one thing that about therapy dog Teams, it's a team, so it's a person. And a lot of times it's the person that really wants it more than the dog. So if the person, you know, maybe like the dog isn't going to be that perfect. I mean, but still, you know, he has to pass the test. But
sure,
you know, if the person's willing to work, you know, then sometimes the dog will be okay. You know, maybe he's not the best. He doesn't love, you know, the best, but he'll be okay. Where a dog that, you know, the dog, if he's totally, you know, not friendly, then of course you're not going to pick him. But there's no you know, there's. I mean, and sometimes,
so you just have a feel for it, to be able to say, this human that is coming to your establishment to learn how to train their dog to be a therapy dog, you want to see if that human has the temperament for it and the work ethic as well as the dog, to see if they can be a good, effective team.
And sometimes the dog isn't going to pass the test because you know, I've had one that you have to, you know, approach and pet the dog, and the dog was hiding behind the owner. So of course, you know, that can't be, you know, so it has to really, you know, enjoy people, and you know.
So give me an example about what effect it has on people when you put them in the field, when you go to either a school or a convalescent home.
The people, or the people that we visit?
The people that you visit.
Okay.
People that you visit. What sort of, like, is it worth it to go through all the effort to get your dog trained to be a therapy dog and pass the tests? What's the impact in the real world?
So it's a lot of people, like in a nursing home or a facility, residential home, they don't get out, and especially the memory care. And when you come in with your dog, I mean, that's the only animal maybe they're seeing. And it just, you know, maybe for like 20 minutes, they have a little bit of a chance to, you know, engage and pet your dog, and you know, and even forget about maybe if they're thinking of something else, but they have a little chance to pet your dog, maybe see a little trick, and that's with the nursing home. But then in a other facility like a hospice, you know, those people, they're, you know, losing a loved one.
Yeah.
And I brought, you know, my dogs. It was too late. The husband already passed away, but I brought the dogs. And the kids just got a little chance to love on the dogs, and that was just so.
So it gave comfort to the surviving members. Now, with going back to your memory care facility, how do the patients react to the dog? Is it a way that they can connect, that they aren't able to connect with people, or do they remember the dog when you visit again?
Yeah, they don't always remember, and you know. So you can tell the same joke again because they don't.
Oh, that's good. So you don't
remember.
have to come up with new material.
But sometimes, you know, when they've had dogs when they were younger, so then you'll ask, have you ever had a dog? And they say, yeah. And then, you know, sometimes they'll say, I had a Cocker Spaniel when I was a kid. And a lot of people say that. A lot of people had Cockers. They were popular before. But sometimes, you know, they'll remember their dog, and then usually they don't remember the name. But one facility, they said, oh, he won't talk or anything, you know, but he did used to have a dog. And so when I brought my dog in, he started talking about his dog. And they said it was a memory care. They said he wouldn't say anything, and he did remember.
Wow, so the dog really acted as a door that opened up a part of this person who feels trapped inside for whatever reason. They are eschewing people. And the dog sort of gives them permission to be playful and reach out and be comforted. So it sounds like the therapy dogs can really impact people. So how often do you bring people out, or do you ever take a whole class of people that are training out to a center to visit different people, like more than once, or do you just take one or two at a time? Or
well, actually, I have an email list, and it has to be, you know, people that are certified. And so then when I email people, we do monthly events, and then I email them, and then they respond, and then we all go like to a nursing home, or we had a reading program at a library, Chapman in Orange, and so the people came, and the kids read to the dogs, and that's good for the kids, because the kids, you know,
So they learn their syntax and how to read out loud, but they're not embarrassed by reading to other expert adults because the dog is non-judgmental.
Right. The dogs don't correct, not like us teachers, you know. But I was a teacher, so the dogs just listen.
Oh, that is so nice. So in a memory facility, they open up the patient when the dogs visit. In a school, they give a nice practice ground for children who are trying to learn how to read and learn that social interaction. And in hospice care, the dogs give comfort to not just the people who are sadly passing away, but also to the surviving members that desperately need that comfort. So it sounds like it's an all-around great way to really make the world a better place and connect with the community. What a great way to bond with that. So now, if you had some volunteers, or if there are any viewers out there that wanted to get involved, could you share what the experience would be like if they came to you?
Right, so I get a lot of calls, you know, and people will tell me about their dog, and sometimes if the dog is, you know, young, then they have time to train, and sometimes the dog's maybe, you know, older, so there's different therapy dog groups that have, the tests are different. So some of the tests are, you know, easier, but, you know, and we take more time with the person, so I kind of and I ask also, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to that hospital, or do you want, you know, because some hospitals have their own therapy dog teams.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, you know, the groups I certify with, if they wanted to go to a certain hospital, not always do they take my certifications. So then I just kind of explain, you know, the testing and what their dog, you know, if your dog can pass the AKC, the American Kennel Club Good Canine Citizen test, which is kind of the rubric that we use for therapy dog work, which is not perfect, but you know, if your dog can do that, then your dog has a pretty good chance of, you know, passing a test. And then I just kind of share which therapy dog group is probably the best one for you. And then I do offer therapy dog training. I teach with the Park and Recs and Yorba and Orange and Fullerton. And so sometimes I, you know, say I'm having a class if you know, need training, or sometimes they need private training, and I do an evaluation and kind of help, and I say, oh, this is what your dog needs to work on, and you know, sometimes they do that and they train them on their own. Sometimes they hired me for private to help them, not so much the private for therapy dog stuff, but
now, what if it's a new puppy that they've gotten? Would you do basic obedient training and then graduate up to therapy dog training?
Yeah, I had one that had a puppy, and you know, when you have a puppy, of course you start training right away. You
gotta housebreak them first.
Right, and then, you know, sit. That's the first thing, and you know, yes, they want to start hitting the basic obedience commands: sit, stay. Some therapy dog tests, they have to lay down. You know, come when called, which you usually never have your dog way far away and you're calling them, but you still have to do that. And leave it. They can't, you know, take food.
Do they have to wear a special working vest?
Every therapy dog group has like a scarf, or some dogs, some groups have a vest. We don't really like vests because, you know, we want people to pet them. We don't want something on them that, you know, they're therapy dogs or for petting.
Like a bandana,
it's not a service dog where, you know, they have that big vest and you can't pet them. But yeah, I didn't wear their scarves, but they have little kerchiefs, scarves, or if it's Christmas or a holiday, we let them, you know, dress up a little bit.
Oh, dress up for the holidays to go out on the town.
She's got a cute little.
Oh, that is fantastic.
She's got a cute little dress that she wears. You know, he has. Well, I've put in Halloween costumes, so that's kind of fun for them. But for Halloween, so we do that.
So what do you enjoy most about it, about this whole endeavor that you started with Noah's Ark dog training? Do you like the dog training or do you like the people training?
Yeah, one thing about, because I was a teacher, I taught elementary school. I love training the people. You know, I like doing, you know, the lessons and planning and helping them to learn, you know, and I love the dogs too, of course, but you know, mainly it's me. I'm showing the people how to train their dog, because I'm not taking your dog for an hour and training your dog. It's not board and care where they drop them off, but I'm working with you because you have to have the dog, you handle the dog. And so I need to teach you how to handle the dog because you're the one taking the test.
So do they become the official handler?
Right, it's one person that, you know, whoever wants to do the therapy dog work, they're the ones that should do the training because they take the test and they are the ones that are going to go for the visit. So if, you know, my husband can't take the dog. I mean, he's not certified even though it's his dog and he wouldn't know what to do.
So the person needs to really commit to saying, I'm going to put in the hours to learn how to handle my dog as a therapy dog. And then you offer this great social outlet where you say we have these mini events once a month. And then you also offer training both in a class setting as well as private classes, depending on what they need to learn. Is that right? Is that right? Now, I think that that is fantastic. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. And let me just tell our audience. So with Wendy here at Noah's Ark Dog Training, we just learned the importance of taking your existing dog and making it one level up into a therapy dog, where you're going to be bringing so much joy to your community. You can either visit the young or the elderly, or even just someone that's recently experienced some sort of a trauma and is feeling very isolated and withdrawn. These dogs are a great way of opening up a door, and it doesn't have to be a special breed, although if you want to be like Lady and the Tramp and get a cocker, then that's perfectly okay by Wendy. And what we really want to do is bond with our community through bonding with nature, by bonding with our own dogs, and teaching them how to be more comforting to other people and looking outside of ourselves. And with that, I want to say, think about it and think about how you can make your immediate world a better place. And remember to do something kind. And until we bond again.